Once hailed as the Queen of Syria and even compared to Princess Diana, Asma al-Assad stood as a symbol of grace and power, but fate had other plans. Diagnosed with leukemia, her world began to crumble. Then came the whispers, secret flight out of Syria, vanishing into shadows, leaving behind a nation in turmoil. Where are they now? How is she coping? What does life hold for Syria's exiled First Lady? The truth is darker than what you might imagine. Welcome back to Never-Ending Celebrities. Born on August 11th, 1975 in London, a far cry from the turbulent streets of Syria, Asma had a really different life. Her parents were accomplished and well-respected Syrian expatriates. Her father, Fawaz Akhras, was a prominent cardiologist, while her mother, Sahar Akhras, was a retired diplomat. The family hailed from Homs, one of Syria's ancient cities, but they were rooted in a modern, cosmopolitan lifestyle. Growing up in a Sunni Muslim household, Asma's early years were a blend of Syrian traditions and British upbringing. She was the kind of child who balanced her roots and surroundings effortlessly, navigating the two worlds with ease. Her parents, with their high-profile professions, ensured she had the best education and opportunities. Asma attended Queen's College in London, where she excelled academically. She had a charm and elegance about her that caught everyone's attention. After finishing school, she enrolled at King's College London, one of the city's most prestigious universities. She studied computer science and French literature, an unusual but telling combination that reflected both her analytical and artistic sides. After graduating, she stepped into the high-paced world of finance. She worked as an investment banker at JP Morgan in London, one of the world's leading financial institutions. Imagine the hustle, the suits, the late nights. It was a far cry from the life she would later lead. Her life seemed to be set on a course of corporate success, but destiny, as it often does, had other plans. Little did she know, her life was about to take a turn that would put her at the center of international politics and in the eye of a storm. It was in London where it all started, in the bustling city of ambition and opportunity, where Asma's path crossed with Bashar al-Assad's. He was a reserved and soft-spoken medical student, specializing in ophthalmology. Their worlds couldn't have been more different. Asma was immersed in the high-paced world of investment banking, while Bashar, the son of Syria's then-president, Hafez al-Assad, was quietly pursuing his studies in the city. Their first meeting was simple, yet impactful. They shared conversations that went beyond pleasantries. Bashar, born on September 11, 1965 in Damascus, was a man of depth, shaped by a life of privilege and expectation. Growing up as the second son of Hafez al-Assad, he wasn't initially destined for politics. His older brother, Basel, was the heir apparent. So Bashar chose a different path, studying medicine at Damascus University before heading to London to specialize in ophthalmology. For Asma, Bashar was someone who shared her intellectual curiosity and quiet demeanor. Their relationship blossomed, but it wasn't splashed across tabloids or the subject of high society whispers. It was private, understated, and deeply personal. Then, on January 1st, 2001, Asma's life changed forever. The couple tied the knot in a sudden, quiet ceremony that took everyone by surprise. It wasn't the kind of grand political wedding you'd expect from the son of a president. Instead, it was intimate and, in many ways, reflective of their personalities. At the time, the world barely noticed. Bashar was just stepping into his father's shoes as Syria's leader, and Asma was transitioning from her life as a London banker to something far more complicated. Their marriage marked the beginning of a new chapter, not just for them, but for Syria. No one had any idea that this union, which seemed like a fairy tale from the outside, would one day become one of the most controversial and talked about alliances in modern history. At first glance, the Assad family seemed picture perfect. Bashar al-Assad and Asma al-Assad presented themselves as a modern, progressive couple, a refreshing departure from the authoritarian image often associated with the Middle East. Western media, eager for a good story, often painted Asma as a symbol of hope. She was glamorous, stylish, and articulate, earning comparisons to none other than Princess Diana. She was the rose of the desert, gracing magazine covers, attending high-profile events, and charming world leaders. To the outside world, Asma appeared to be a force for modernization, someone determined to drag Syria into the 21st century. Bashar, with his soft-spoken demeanor, and Asma, with her polished sophistication, seemed like the ideal power couple. The couple has 3 children: Hafez, named after his grandfather, Zian, the only daughter, and Karim, the youngest. Together, they portrayed the image of a harmonious, loving family. The public lapped it up. Official photographs showed them enjoying outings, smiling, and exuding warmth, an image far removed from the harsh realities of Syrian politics. It was a carefully crafted facade, one designed to project stability and modernity. But behind this glossy exterior lay a different story. Bashar's rise to power was far from smooth. His older brother, Basel, was the original heir to their father's legacy. Charismatic and bold, Basel was being groomed for leadership. But in 1994, a car crash changed everything. His untimely death thrust Bashar into a role he had never sought. Bashar was called back from London, where he had been quietly building a career in ophthalmology to prepare for a future he hadn't imagined. When Hafez al-Assad passed away in 2000, Bashar stepped up into the presidency. Meanwhile, Asma transitioned into her new role as First Lady with equal determination. She became involved in public engagement, advocating for economic reforms, supporting education, and launching charitable initiatives. For a while, it seemed like she might genuinely bring about positive change. But as we know, things aren't always what they seem. And when the Syrian civil war erupted in 2011, the perfect family image shattered. The turmoil was just beginning, and their carefully curated life would soon come crashing down. As the winds of change began to sweep across the Middle East in 2011, Syria was not immune to the growing wave of pro-democracy protests. What started as peaceful demonstrations calling for reform soon spiraled into an all-out civil war that would ravage the nation for years. But while ordinary Syrians took to the streets hoping for change, Asma's silence spoke volumes. At first, she was seen as someone who might make a difference. As the wife of Syria's president, many hoped she could bring about much-needed reforms, especially with her Western education and her supposed modern outlook. But as the uprising gained momentum, Asma's lack of response became increasingly conspicuous. While the world was watching, Syria's First Lady remained silent, at least publicly. This silence, in the eyes of many, began to look less like diplomacy and more like complicity. But it wasn't just her silence that attracted attention. It was what came next. In 2012, a series of leaked emails revealed a stark contrast between the life the Assads portrayed to the world and the reality of their public lives. Amidst a nation teetering on the brink of collapse, Asma's emails painted a picture of ignorance. While her countrymen were suffering, the First Lady and her inner circle were splurging on luxury goods, from expensive shopping sprees to high-end designer items. To say this didn't sit well with the public is an understatement. The emails didn't just reveal lavish spending, they also exposed a rather tone-deaf attitude towards the ongoing crisis. Asma and Bashar, in their private correspondence, spoke about getting through the situation together, like it was just another bump in the road. For a nation drowning in the horrors of war, these messages felt like a slap in the face. Initially, Asma had been seen by many as a potential reformer, but her inability to address the suffering of the Syrian people and the stark contrast between her lifestyle and their reality led many to view her as complicit in the regime's brutal crackdown. No longer was she the potential force for change. Instead, she became associated with the very system that was crushing her country. The woman who was once celebrated as a progressive figure was now viewed by many as an enabler of one of the most brutal regimes in the world. But this was just the beginning of a turbulent journey for the First Lady. As the Syrian civil war reached new levels of intensity, the Assad family's grip on power began to fade away. With growing oppression both within Syria and from the international community, Bashar al-Assad's regime was increasingly isolated. The pressure mounted, and it wasn't long before the once glamorous family was forced to face a harsh reality, one that they had long been able to avoid. As the regime's control started to crumble, the Assad family's escape from Syria became inevitable. Reports surfaced that the family had to leave the country in secrecy with help from Russia, a longtime ally of the Assads. While the details of their departure remain shrouded in mystery, it is believed that they were flown out in the dead of night, whisked away to a life of exile, far removed from the chaos they had once dominated. Their flight from Syria marked the end of an era, as the world watched the once powerful family disappear into the shadows, their fate uncertain. But the story didn't end there. In 2018, a shocking announcement made headlines. Asma al-Assad had been diagnosed with breast cancer. It was a blow to the public image of a woman who had been carefully curated to embody strength and elegance. The announcement, though personal and tragic, added a new layer to the narrative of the Assad family. However, the plot thickened in the years that followed. In 2021, further reports surfaced, revealing that Asma had also been diagnosed with leukemia. This raised more than a few eyebrows, especially considering the timing of these health battles. Critics speculated that the announcement of her cancer diagnosis, especially in light of the ongoing turmoil in Syria, was perhaps a strategic move to garner sympathy or distract from the Assad's tarnished reputation. After all, in the world of politics and media, timing is everything. The authenticity of her diagnoses, too, was called into question. With the Assads living in exile, far from the scrutiny of the Syrian people, rumors and speculations were bound to swirl. But what do you think? What happens when Putin, their longtime ally, eventually steps down from power? Will they still be able to live like they are right now? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and make sure to check out the channel for more royal and scandalous stories. And don't forget to subscribe for more.